Good day everyone, my name is Ansel James and this is my tutorial on the installation of Windows 2008 Server. Now first things first, we're not actually going to install the OS on the machine. We're actually going to create a virtual environment where we're going to load the OS and create the server. This means that we could actually run the two operating systems, the one that exists on the machine and the new environment parallel to each other, because the virtual environment actually takes a virtual cut, if you want to say, of your hard drive. To actually load the operating system onto this virtual environment, you have tools that you could actually use to create. These are the instructions to create a bootable hard drive, or your bootable USB flash drive, I should say. And if you Google stuff like Rufus, it would actually give you the software you can use to create this bootable USB drive that you can store your OS on through VirtualBox. In this case, I used the Oracle VM VirtualBox, where I'm actually going to create the environment in which I'm going to load the OS and create the Windows 2008 server. I already downloaded the application. Here it is. You would see that I already have Windows 2007 loaded, but for the purpose of the tutorial, I'm going to load Windows 2008. The reason why I have 2007 there also is when we go later down into subsequent tutorials, we're going to show where we're going to connect Windows 2007 to Windows 2008, and we're also going to promote Windows 2008 to a domain controller and make 2007 a client. Now with that said, let's begin. So in a virtual machine, start by clicking New. You're going to type the name of your server. In this case, I'm going to use Windows 2008. Now automatically the version defaulted to Windows 2008 64-bit. That is fine. I'm going to leave it as is, but if you wish, you have a number of options. You could have selected Windows 2008 32-bit. You have Windows XP and so on, depending on the version at which you're going to load onto the machine. And you click Next. The memory size, the amount of RAM in megabytes. In this case, my laptop doesn't have that high capacity. Wow. So I have to now reduce that to 512. Click Next. The hard disk, we're actually going to create a virtual hard disk. So that was selected by default. We're going to leave that as is. Click Create. The hard disk file type, the default is VDI, VirtualBox disk image. We're going to leave that as is. Click Next. The storage and physical hard disk. Now, the research into dynamically allocated against fixed. This in itself speaks for itself. The disk size will adjust or shrink, in this case as it's noted, automatically against the space. So we're going to leave that as is and click Next. The file location and size of Windows 2008 and the size of 25 gigs. We can leave that as is also. Click Create. And here it is. We would have created an environment in which we are actually going to now load the ISO, This is just the virtual environment that we would have created. Now, before we move on, we want to do some settings that would make our lives a lot easier when we get down to the actual connecting of the machines. So before we move forward, let's click Settings, and you're going to Network, and you have Adapter, the network adapter. The Enable Network Adapter box is checked, and you attach to, we're going to change this to Host Only Adapter, and the name automatically defaults to the VirtualBox Host Only Ethernet Adapter. We go to Advanced, and the promiscuous mode, we want to change that to Allow All, and the adapter type, we're going to leave that as a default, Intel Pro 1000 empty desktop. You have other options there, but we're going to leave that as a default. And click OK, set and save. And there we have our environment to actually install the Windows 2008 ISO to create the Windows 2008 server. That would conclude this session for now. When we return, we're actually going to go into the installation of the ISO. Stay tuned.